Well, there may not be a better event in all of sports than March Madness, the NCAA tournament. I know for me, March rolls around, the weather gets a little bit warmer. You've got basketball on a Thursday from breakfast through dinner. I know a lot of you out there that watch our show love it as well. And this video isn't necessarily a fun video to do. It's some news that's kind of snuck beneath the headlines.
A little bit.
We want to bring it to attention so that all of you know what's going on. And that topic is real. Is the NCAA tournament, is college sports as we know it over? And we're going to get into what's going on. The first time that I really heard anything that's going on with this was about a year ago. Bob Huggins at West Virginia, Huggy, the coach down there for men's basketball, said something that caught me a little bit off guard. I think Twitter and a lot of people snapped back at him like, just be better. And really what he said is he talked about essentially the Power 5 conferences branching off from the rest of the NCAA tournament and doing their own tournament. And everyone at the time said, like, be better, Huggy. Like, stop losing to 12 seeds. Stop losing to 15 seeds. You know what I mean? And this has become a lot more real as we've all been settling in, watching our favorite teams play in conference play, getting ready for March as it quickly approaches. What's been happening in Indianapolis has definitely been a little quiet, but we're going to bring it to light.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Bob Huggins and his comments, he really said that it's time to think about the Power 5 leaving behind the NCAA tournament and kind of forming their own tournament to have more control over their fate. And he had an extra comment in there as well that I think really stirred up some backlash. And he said, these Cinderella schools put 200 fans at best in their gym. We're putting 14,000. And right away, obviously you're going to get understandable backlash from a comment like that because big school or small school, I mean, some of these small schools, man, have great followings. They just maybe don't have the brand recognition that these teams who are on ESPN regularly do. You fast forward a little bit, few months, and you had Ross Dillinger just a couple weeks ago here at Sports Illustrated dropped a bombshell of an article that really,
I don't think many people saw.
No, I don't really think they did. And it really kind of laid out what's going on. And, about 2 weeks ago in Indianapolis, where the NCAA headquarters is, you had, athletic directors, commissioners. Yeah, basically everybody met to discuss kind of the current landscape of sports. And they were voting on a new constitution that basically grants each division authority to kind of regulate itself. And that really is kind of what started us and brought us to this point.
It's all about money, right? I mean, the reason that this conversation is happening is the Power 5 schools, they want a bigger cut of the money. And here's how it works. If you don't understand the way that college basketball, most of the money obviously is centered around March Madness. And the way that the money gets distributed, obviously down from the TV contracts and all that, is as you advance through the NCAA tournament, you get a little bit larger paycheck. And so, these big Power 5 schools, West Virginia, who says they've got 14,000 people in their gymnasium, they want a bigger cut. And they don't want a small school like, I don't know, Gonzaga back in 1999 getting a cut of their money. And you think about it, Gonzaga was a school, for example, that in 1998, 1999, that school was on the brink of bankruptcy. I mean, they were definitely on track to get rid of their men's basketball team. The school probably would not be around today if that team doesn't go on a magical run in 1999. And then what happens, right, is just like we've seen it everywhere, Loyola Chicago, you name it, is a team makes a run. Enrollment goes up, right? Their social media followers go up. Their ability to make money and market themselves goes up, which, I'll tell you what. Watching the NCAA tournament, why do you watch an NCAA tournament game at 9 a.m. on a Thursday morning? It's not to watch a 500 Vanderbilt team take on a one game over 500 Washington State team out of the Power 5 schools, right? I want to watch 12 knock off 5. I want to see if Long Beach State can knock off this Power 5 school, and it always happens. It's great television. It's what makes March Madness great. And that's what's sad, right? It always comes down to money. You know, we heard Huggy talk about it. That's one thing, but then when you've got really all the leaders in the NCAA meeting in Indianapolis, there was a quote that came out of those meetings from a anonymous person who is in the NCAA for school, and what they said is everything's on the table. And they said, listen, we've had to use this in the past as a bargaining chip to say, listen, we'll take our ball and we'll go elsewhere as a way to basically corner the NCAA and say, if you're not going to give us what we want, we're going to leave you and go do our own thing. And so when they say everything's on the table, what do they mean?
Yeah, really, when they say that, we're talking about conference realignment. We're talking about the tournament as we know it. We're talking about automatic qualifiers. Really, everything that makes March Madness what it is on the table. And it's just, as a fan of college sports, it sucks to see. It's not what you want to see at all. I mean, you mentioned a small school going on a run and what that means for them. You know, for these bigger schools, they get the money, you know, that they get every year from making a run, and they get these big new fancy facilities. They can go out and hire that,
got boosters,
that big coach. It all goes to that. But for a school like UMBC, we all remember first time a 16 seed has knocked off a 1 seed. They beat Virginia.
It's not good business for Virginia.
Not good business for Virginia. They want that extra money. But for UMBC, that is a just life-changing moment for a university. And it's not just for their athletic program. The next year following that win, UMBC saw a 10% rise in undergrad applications. Their SAT scores jumped up 20-plus points. Their Twitter following, as you even kind of mentioned, their Twitter following grew from 5,500 followers, I think, to like 110,000 overnight. And, you know, their president even came out and said it completely changed their brand recognition and their ability as a small school to raise money. And that right there is just, this is why March Madness is so big. I mean, last year we had Oral Roberts knock off Ohio State, right? 15 seed. They were actually the 9th 15 seed to beat a 2 seed. So it's not impossible. You know, these small schools will make runs. You get fantastic players. Max Amos, Oral Roberts, a lot of the country didn't even know about him. And he's obviously a fantastic
guy
player.
named Steph Curry played at a school named Davidson. You know, with this
automatic qualifier benefit right there.
Yeah, with this new, proposal that these Power 5 schools and conferences are really going towards, we don't get NCAA tournament Steph Curry. We don't get all of these amazing moments that we've seen over the years, and it's just laughable. I mean, the reason we're making this video is to let all of you know what's going on. We're not doing this video to strike fear, to put some conspiracy theory. Like, this is real. Like, I think people don't understand that, like, there's a potential that, I don't think that something like this changes overnight, but there's a potential. Like we've seen with the college football playoff, it takes years to put new things into place. But here we are sitting in 2022. There's a chance by the end of this decade that the NCAA tournament is no more. And what I envision, if you kind of put all the facts together of what we're seeing here, I think, what we hear time and time again is the Power 5 schools say Division I's too big. Division I's too big, right? You got 120, 130 schools in Division I. They don't like that, right? I could see Division I shrinking down to 60 schools, right? And so you're going to have this, kind of like the college football playoff where you're going to have this tournament for the Power 5 schools. And then I think you're going to have the Oral Roberts of the world, the Davidsons of the world, in almost this football subdivision tournament, which really is going to turn into the NIT.
Yeah.
And you know what sucks is, let's just say that they keep the tournament at 60 teams and maybe there's 75 teams in Division I. So you're telling me that 85% of teams make the tournament? Like,
sure.
No one cares about that. You know how many teams in this subdivision would beat those? It's just, what's funny to me too is that I don't think they understand the larger picture, right? It's all about viewership and ratings, and you do this. I mean, mark my words. You go down this path that you're going down, you are going to see ratings drop. You're going to see less sponsorship money come in. And it's laughable to me because I really think that they're going to end up putting themselves in a corner that they can't get out.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable, and like you said, it's just, why do people watch the tournament? One Power 5 director said, we're letting anybody in D1 from D2 and D3, and all of a sudden these teams get an automatic qualifier and they get a shot at the tournament over an 8th placed SEC team. That was his quote. And, it's just, when you think about it, like you said in the beginning, nobody cares about watching the 13-17 record 8th place team out of the SEC. I'm going to watch all the tournament games. Don't get me wrong. I love them all. But am I going to pick that one out of the, menu of games that are on any given time during that first weekend? Absolutely not. We want to see those upsets. But outside of us as fans, it just comes down to how it benefits these smaller schools and how it benefits student athletes. I mean, these smaller schools, they get a $50,000 bonus from NCAA revenue. It doesn't go towards facilities or salaries. It goes towards books for athletes. It benefits at the smaller level. That money is designed to benefit the student athlete. And where we're at right now, these bigger schools just want the money in their pocket. There was a quote, if Alabama makes an extra $5 million and they want to hire 3 extra, sports psychologists, they should be able to do that. So it really is just the big fish versus the small fish right now. And it's not what you want to see, but we kind of knew this was coming. And this is not, don't think that we're sitting here praising the NCAA for how it is right now. I think we can both agree, and I think pretty much everybody watching this, the NCAA has issues.
But if there's one thing they do right, which they don't have many, it's March Madness.
It's March Madness, yes. You can definitely agree there are things to change if you want to better the sport and better things for student athletes. But taking March Madness away, that's not the move. This is a pure money grab from the Power Fives. And I think it has zero of their student athletes in mind. It is purely what benefits the university and their pockets.
I'm going to backpedal a little bit because you talked about why you watch the NCAA tournament. You watch it one of 2 reasons. Either your team is in it or you want to see the upsets. And so I'm going to disagree with you if in 10 years from now this happens, and because it's not the NCAA tournament. You said, well, I'm going to watch any game. Like, yeah, right now. Like,
correct. In the current
get
setup, yes.
7 versus 8s right now. But if they do this and we have a 500 SEC school playing a 500 Pac-12 school, I could care less. I will not tune into that. Like, it just loses appeal to me, and that's sad, right? Like, you know what we're seeing right now? We're seeing the MLB head towards a lockout, push back, spring training, probably a shortened season. Why? Because they can't get on the same page. Neither one's willing to move an inch. And what's funny about it is that they're fighting over millions of dollars. And then what's going to happen? Well, oh crap, if the season starts late, well, we both lose money. And then they're gonna come to terms come March or April.
Money rules everything.
Here's some quotes that I want to share with you. So the Transformation Committee is going to decide a lot of this with the NCAA. They're going to have continued meetings this spring and summer. They do expect an outcome by August. But here's a quote that has come out of the recent meetings. It's not off the table that the Power 5 is going to walk. Think about that. And what they mean, this is one group of 5 AD who said this. This is an athletic director in the Power 5. He said, it's going to get contentious if the Power 5 goes into this. I think they've got to win everything and have a 0 give and take. And does it come down to we're going to take our ball and go home? And I just think that we've seen it, like I said, with the MLB. I think we're going to see it with this, that we're going to see neither side willing, because the small schools are going to want to keep things the way they are. The Power 5 schools are going to say, hey, listen, we're the ones who bring, all the power to the table here. We're not budging. Where do we end up? Like I said, it's sad for fans. It's sad for the student athletes. It's just it's sad that we've gotten to this point that like we mentioned, you've got an amazing thing in March Madness, and they can't just let it be. So let us know down in the comments. Let us know what your thoughts on this are. Let us know. Maybe you're a fan of a Power 5 school and you say, yeah, let's take our ball and go do our own thing.
Could be.
We want to hear from you. If you don't agree with this path we're headed down, let us know your thoughts. And as always, if this is your first video, or maybe you're a fan of the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and we'll continue to keep you guys updated as we hear more. And hopefully come later spring, as we head into summer, we have a little bit more of a final resolution on what the NCAA decides to do.